Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now let's talk some very important conversations, talk about the judiciary space. President Muhammadu Buhari on Wednesday swore in Olukayode Ariwoola, substantive Chief Justice of Nigeria, at the Council Chamber House of the State House, Abuja. The swearing-in of Mr. Ariwoola followed his confirmation by the Senate on 21st of September, 3 months after his appointment by the President. Mr. Ariwoola took the judicial oath of office in a brief ceremony shortly before the commencement of the weekly virtual meeting of the Federal Executive Council, FEC, chaired by the President. Now, many have raised eyebrows regarding his appointment, especially ahead of the 2023 elections on the one hand, and on the other hand, the fact that Nigeria's judiciary system needs a complete reform in the fight against corruption on the other hand. Now, joining us here live in the studio is legal practitioner and managing partner, Rosenut Solicitors, Elo Azaino. Thank you very much and welcome to the show.
Yes, all mine.
All right, now let's talk about, this appointment. What do you and other practitioners, other legal practitioners like yourself, make of the appointment of Chief Justice Olukayode Ariwoola?
Well, it's a welcome development. He has been in an acting capacity for the past 3 months, thereabouts. And when Tanko resigned, he was the most senior Supreme Court justice. So it's traditional that he will automatically become the Chief Justice of Nigeria. And accordingly, he was. But for us as legal practitioners, we are most elated because as much as he's in the bench, he's also a barman.
So we're still talking, the legalities, of course, the legal stuff, and we're looking at the appointment of the CJN. We're joined by Elo Azaino, who is the principal partner of Rosenut Solicitors. Now, before we went on that break, we're talking about how lawyers feel, and you really have shared that this is something that was expected as he's the oldest and, he's been there for a while. Let's talk about some of the complaints that were there. Now, before the former CJN Tanko Mohammed resigned due to ill health, there were several complaints about the welfare of legal practitioners, the welfare of judges. Talk to us. What really is the situation? What is the position among the judiciary?
So the judiciary is united. They are acting in one front. I can tell you that for free. During the screening of Honorable Justice Ariwoola at the Senate, he mentioned it. It was not a petition per se, as it's been widely spread. Rather, it was an internal memo within the judiciary themselves about the state of affairs, which is occasioned by the economy. There was a budget, and the budget has deficit. So minor things like provision of diesel for plants were unable to be satisfied. So there was an internal memo, and there was no rancor. Upon the resignation of Tanko, Justice Ariwoola took over, and he has promised that he's going to salvage whatever it is. But then again, we have to be careful. The legislative arm as well as the executive arm need to support the judiciary at this moment.
I mean, one of the things he's called for is the independence of the judiciary in his acceptance speech. He did talk about the independence of the judiciary, and I wanted to just really throw a bit of light on that. Like, how important is the conversation about the independence of the judiciary?
The judiciary needs to be independent. In Nigeria, we know what he clamored for. He wants the politicians, he wants Nigerians to give him that opportunity. The judges don't come and solicit for bribery or anything. It's the Nigerians, the politicians that want to corrupt the societies and the judiciary as it were. And he's stern on it, and he wants us to maintain an international standard and rule of law will prevail. So it's a matter of the populace embracing the rule of law. The judiciary is ready and has always been ready to protect the common man.
Okay, let's talk about his appointment. 7 months, barely 7 months left to the end of President Buhari's tenure. How much impact really, now that he's swearing in the new CJN, how much impact can be made or can be felt in the current government? What are your thoughts on that?
My colleague, if you do know well that the judiciary is an independent arm, it has no bearing with what the executive. He has 2 years left. He's, I think, 68 now, so he will retire when he's 70. So it has no bearing. It's just when he retires, whether the president appoints him now or a day before the president leaves office, it makes no difference. The only snag there is he has made a lot of promises, a lot of reforms. Would the 2 years be enough for him to accomplish all of this? That is the major issue, not when he was appointed. He was appointed because his successor resigned. So it's just basic.
All right, now let's bring in Osao Gyobonwa into this conversation. Osalge, I'm sure that you have questions yourself as well.
Oh yeah, I think my questions will be focused really on judicial reforms, and a lot of issues with our criminal justice system that Justice Ariwoola would need to fix. And I'm going to use this as an example. I did share this yesterday with the colleagues. The case of a young man who had been in jail for about 8 years. He was arrested by men of the Nigerian army because he didn't stop certain individuals that were being chased by these soldiers. He didn't, stop, these guys when they ran past him. So he was then arrested, taken to the police station, and, he eventually, of course, stayed there for 8 years. He was charged with armed robbery and some of all of that. How much work does the new CJN have to do, and how much work is needed with fixing our criminal justice system and the dispensation of justice, the time that it takes between the start of a case and its conclusion?
Thank you very much, Sarege. To borrow a leaf from the new CJN statement, we understand justice delayed is justice denied. Also, justice hastened is also justice denied. He has promised to reform the judiciary, and it's one of my fears. He has 2 years. He has promised to revolutionize the judiciary. We need to digitize. There are many issues. There need to be a lot of courtrooms and appointment of justice, even to the Supreme Court. As we speak, we have only 13 justices of the Supreme Court, and these 13 justices are to render justice to the entire nation. It's just not enough. The Constitution provides for a maximum of 21. I'm clamoring that we need more justices to be appointed to the Supreme Court, because as we speak, we do have a minimum of 21 divisions of the Court of Appeal, and all these appeals go into just the Supreme Court. So we do need reform, and he has promised to reform the judiciary. Only time will tell. We are not in his head, but we should also be mindful that he's not working as an isolated man. It's not like the judiciary where he's the head. He's just first among equal. There are various heads of court, and they will all work as one and ensure that the judiciary is stable in Nigeria.
All right, we have been speaking with Elo Azaino, the principal partner of Rosenut Solicitors, and we've talked, of course, about the appointment of the CJ. And we'd like to know your we'd like to know your thoughts as well. Tweet at us at News Central to let us know what your thoughts are in this regard. Elo Azaino, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Pleasure is all mine, Olive.